because you're the one who's
You're a
garbage.
liar.
When you call me garbage, you're projecting.
You wish that was true, TJ.
Who's
the guy
you know
above
you're
you,
garbage.
TJ?
No one is above me.
There is someone literally above you.
I don't see them. Where?
Right there. You're looking at him right now.
No. Oh, hey, how you doing? Little face in the ceiling. Oh, no. I see. On the screen, someone's above me. I don't know who that is. Some French asshole.
Hello?
His name is JF, but that stands for something else that I can't pronounce.
Jean-Francois?
Jean-Francois.
That's a very good pronunciation.
Yeah, I'm awesome.
Good job, TJ.
Woo! If I was in your class, would you give me an A?
Probably not for this.
Oh! I should leave right now. I'm angry. Now the A stands for angry, good sir. So what are you here for?
Well, I'm a big fan of the show, so I talked to Ben, and he invited me, so I'm glad to come here and talk evolution with you guys.
Why did you invite this person here, Ben?
Blackmail.
Because he's an expert on evolution and neuroscience. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you an expert, sir?
Well, I mean, it depends on how you define expert. Personally, I don't care about the authority in science, but if you define it as acquiring some sort of publications in the world of science or having a diploma like a PhD, then I would qualify, I guess, as some sort of expert.
Yeah, that's what I hate about you scientists. You're also arrogant.
Well, to the contrary, what I'm
you
telling
just
you is don't matter at all.
you're just
too fancy for you, TJ.
You say out of one side of your mouth, you say, "Oh, I don't care about being thought of as an expert," but then Ben's over here saying, "Oh, he's an expert. He's an expert." This is all choreographed by you two.
Saying. I'm not saying anything about
it. Oh, yeah, at your bequest, I'm sure.
Well, here's what, TJ. I think you have listening issues.
Yeah, that's definitely what the case is. Listening issues.
Tell us the truth, Ben. He has some serious blackmail on you.
Turn my fucking hearing aid up a little.
Ben, did you go on like a gay cruise or something?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A gay cruise.
He's sitting there like waiting to expose Ben.
So when you said gay cruise, were you talking about Tom Cruise?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Quite literally.
It's a Scientology cruise.
Yeah.
Gay Scientology cruise.
In that case, you know who else has to get in on that?
Oh, G-Man.
Yeah.
We have to invite G-Man to the gay Scientology cruise.
Oh, yeah, G-Man.
That's what we'll say to him when we bring him on. Let's see if he comes on. I told him we would call him.
He's going to come on you, Ben.
Fuck off.
But he's going to wait till we're aboard the gay Scientology cruise ship.
Oh, he's here.
He ain't here. I don't hear him. Oh, my God. Now I do. What is that sound?
What is that sound?
The desk is vibrating. G-Man, turn down your vibrator. It's
my
making
vibrator.
Your desk is rumbling, dude. There's a noise that's going like bzzz. Okay, it stopped.
Okay.
No, it didn't stop. It's coming still.
Okay. So we have our other guest here, G-Man. I'll introduce you to him. His name is JF. Those are his initials, JF. Can you hear that over the nuclear generator that you're sitting next to?
I don't have any. It's probably my laptop. Maybe my fan is being too loud or something. I don't know. But his name is JF. I can see him. It says I see his whole name here.
Hi, Jamin.
JF. Okay, cool. How are you doing,
nice
sir?
Nice to see you. I'm doing fine. What about you?
I'm doing all right. Just got home from work a couple hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
Got invited to have a debate with the scientist. I'm waiting for the scientist to get here.
It's not it's not a debate, G-Man. We just No,
it's not Thunderfoot.
No. See, it's not we didn't say we were bringing a celebrity on. We said we were bringing a scientist on.
Okay.
No, and actually he's not here to debate you. We just thought you could use some education.
Right.
Oh, okay, cool. I love education. I have no problem with that.
All right, so why don't you ask the nice scientist your questions, G-Man? We know you like to inquire.
Okay. Yeah, JF, I'm just completely dumbfounded about some things about evolution. Maybe you can help me with something. What was the common ancestor that that is responsible for all life? Let's start with something easy.
For all life that is currently alive on Earth?
Yeah. What was the common ancestor?
The common ancestor was probably a very simple molecule of DNA. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when it happened, when it was created, but we estimate it at about 4 billion years ago.
Okay, so my next question would be, what do I do when somebody tells me that they know for certain that the common ancestor was a single cell organism?
Well, I think that it would be false to say that we know for certain. In fact, there are serious hypotheses that the first common ancestor may not have been a single cell organism. It could have been a floating molecule. But the reason we would think that it was a single cell organism is that when we look around us, we see only single cell organism or groups of single cells that are put together. So it doesn't seem like there are much out there that's alive that doesn't have cells except the viruses.
Oh, okay. That explains a lot for me, I suppose. My next question for you would be, how do we go from this floating organism or this, the other definition that you gave the very first time was single cell organism, a multi-cell organism. How do we get from that to, let's say, a school of fish?
Yeah, well, these are current questions that are being explored, and they are the fascinating questions. So first, you have to solve the problem of how a replicating molecule, which was floating somewhere in the ocean, making copies of itself, how could this become a single cell in the first place? How could this become a bacteria? And for it to happen, it has to be that some of these molecules, they found an advantage. They were evolutionarily advantaged to build walls around them, what Richard Dawkins had been calling coats. They've been covering themselves with these coats, and this has formed single-cell organisms. Now, at some point, these single-cell organisms, they started making copies of themselves that would stay around them. It would stay around them and form multicellular communities, like the sponges, or like the multicellular organism that forms slimes. And at some point, these groups of multicellular organisms, there were many copies of a similar organism, and they found an evolutionary advantage to get together and coordinate their actions. So when you see a shoal of fish swimming together, that's because these multiple cell organisms, they found an advantage in swimming together rather than swimming alone.
Okay, that's very interesting because they were swimming in the water and everything. That's cool. So I'm assuming this is the explanation that they have for all life. That this common ancestor is responsible for all life, right?
Well, I would say
animals,
it's the general explanation.
Birds, cats, all of them
Yes.
things and whatnot, right?
But
Okay,
to
cool.
explain this, using this general explanation, you need many more smaller explanations. You need many cases of evolutions that have happened, particularly, for example, in the transition to the terrestrial environment when the first amphibians have started walking. You need a lot of more details to explain the whole thing that you observed today. But yes, I would say it's a general good explanation.
Wow, I'm learning a lot here today. Thank you. I appreciate that. A couple more questions. There was only one.
Hold on a second.
So,
G-Man.
I'd like to hear
There's
about
only
Ben
one-
and TJ.
I've never heard G-Man just be like, okay, cool, I learned something, and then like move on. I've never heard him say that, so I'm just kind of blown away.
I was expecting a little more opposition.
Well, you're gonna get that in a minute. And
Oh, okay.
He's building there. G-Man is like a master debater. I don't mean that in a masturbation way. I'm just saying he builds his case slowly until it crests. So
And you're all gonna see me do it in a minute.
Right? Sure. Yeah, the knockout punch. It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, so JF, right?
Yep,
Dr. JF, right? Dr.
Yep.
JF? Okay, cool. You have a PhD, right?
Yep, you can. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, now earlier you said that everything came from one single cell organism, and that one single cell organism became multiple ones, and they were swimming around or floating around in the water or whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
Tell me something. How do we get from a single cell organism, for example, to, let's say, a tree that produces these things, an apple here?
Yes. Well, this
How
is a
exactly-
fascinating question. So first we have to address, let's forget about the apple and the tree. Let's go simple. So we have bacteria that are just making copies of themselves, and their offspring are single-cell organisms. And I'm extremely interested at this transition that happens. Why is it that suddenly this organism could become a multiple-cell organism? I find this a very interesting question. I think there are open questions in this field, but I would point out to the fact that there are some communities of bacterial cells that have the option of being multicellular organism or the option of transferring back to single cell. And I would suspect that at some point, when a cell is making a copy of itself, the offspring that surround, they can start helping their parent cell. And if they help so much that they sacrifice their own replication power to join basically a body or a slime or a group of cells, I think it's possible that from these events we could have multicellular organism evolving from single cell organism making copies of themselves.
Right. So we got trees from bacteria, you're saying, right?
Not from modern bacteria, but from some sort of organism that looked like bacteria at some point, yeah.
Okay, what does it look like?
What does a bacteria look like?
No, the bacteria that became trees over a long period of time. What do they look like?
Oh, well, they've been looking like many things across millions of years. So at some point, they looked like a bacteria that you would see today or close to this. At some point, they might have integrated some device.
I didn't ask you all that. Actually, how did it look? Like, did you actually see the bacteria yourself that turned into the
No, the thing it's not one bacteria. What we're talking about is a series of bacteria and of different types of organisms that have led to the tree, progressively changing at every generation during their evolutionary history. And this happened over millions of years, if not billions of years, if you go back to bacteria.
Okay, cool. Now, this is something that you're telling me. Did you actually observe this bacteria over a long period of time becoming a tree or anything other than bacteria?
No, we do not. Our current theory of how modern life has appeared is not directly observed. We do not. We did not see a bacteria transform into a tree.
Yeah, G-Man. It wasn't like when you saw Jesus rise from the dead. It's different. It's different from that.
Good point. You know what? I have to give you a round of applause for that joke. You're right. I wasn't there to see Jesus rise from the dead, and he wasn't there to see the bacteria, evolve from whatever the heck it was.
Yeah. So I guess we're just gonna have to base it on evidence then.
Right.
No. Whoa. That's the problem, though. He's saying about the bacteria,
it's the problem.
What he's saying, this is the punchline, I suppose, because what you're saying with the bacteria becoming ultimately a tree over this long period of time, you never observed that. How is that science?
Well, I mean, if we had to apply the criteria that you're asking, that we have to observe everything, we couldn't have a justice system, for example, because most murders are not observed by anyone else than the person being murdered and the murderer. Yet we can find evidence by looking at the scene. We can see the scene and reconstruct what happened. And that's what we do in evolutionary biology. It's not different from the reconstruction of a murder scene based on some evidence that tells you something about the past.
And I would agree with you. I like the idea that you brought a crime scene into it, because then we can look at evidence in a different way. You know, we can hear the testimony of other people, and we can use that testimony to come to a conclusion or whatever. And there's other ways, fingerprints and all that other good stuff. I mean, we can't be 100% sure, you know what I mean, that this person committed the crime, but we could be like, we could be pretty sure that he did it, right? According to DNA, fingerprints. The testimonies of other people when they go to court. Oh, I heard this, I saw this.
And it's important in that process, in a crime investigation, that you wouldn't attribute the same degree of importance to any evidence. You would think, for example, that the testimony depends. Was it from a testimony from someone interested in the affair? Was it someone who wanted to hide stuff? So you would attribute different levels of belief based on the quality and the quantity of evidence that you get.
Right, and I totally agree with you. So, since we have no eyewitness evidence of people who can give you a testimony of what these bacteria did, and would actually educational guess, what evidence do you have that this actually happened?
Well, the evidence is really overwhelming. We can survey the most. Yes, overwhelming. Okay, cool. I mean, the idea that all life that is currently existing on Earth is based on DNA, for example. It seems that all life on Earth is based on the same set of molecules, encoding the same set of molecules, which are RNA, proteins. All of them seem to require some sort of single-cell membrane or multiple cells having the same type of membranes. So it seems that whatever created life as we see it today has used the same recipes, and we can even see the distance between different organisms that are currently alive. For example, the distance in terms of genetics between humans and other primates like apes is much smaller than our distance with trees and bacteria.
That doesn't prove that bacteria became trees, though. That's just an education. That doesn't prove that bacteria became trees. That proves that an intelligence made trees. Intelligence made people. That doesn't prove that just happened randomly.
Yeah, I mean,
because the weather was perfect and this condition was right and everything.
Whenever you see a phenomenon, whenever you see a natural phenomenon, you can attribute it to an intelligence. You can say, oh, this thing is not like this because of a physical law. It's like this because someone made it that way. But the problem is, if you adhere to the scientific method and if you're looking at parsimonious explanation, the God explanation, having created everything that we see alive today, is simply not parsimonious, because you come up with a problem, which is, who created God?
Who created God? Go. The Bible says that.
No, G-Man.
God has.
We don't want to hear about what the Bible says. We don't want to hear about.
Can I use logic then? You mind if I use logic?
Sure.
Logic.
Okay.
It called the Dusty. I beat you in a vote. Logic. Okay, cool. So
G-Man did beat Dusty in the guest poll. Like who the?
There you go.
It's hard to call the Dusty. Logic. Anyway, so we called the Dusty. I did mean that. Logic. So anyway, okay. So matter. When was matter created?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'm very curious about these questions. I'm not a physicist, unfortunately, so I cannot give you any sort of informed guess. But if you're talking about the matter that, well, go ahead.
Matter cannot be created and matter cannot be destroyed. Okay? I think that's the first one. Something like that.
I'm not sure that's true.
Matter cannot be created. Well, you can go talk to a lot of atheists that watch my channel.
I'm not a physicist again, but I'm not sure that matter cannot be created.
You can Google it, but you can Google that if you want. So matter can't be created and matter can't be destroyed. So believing that something is infinite is not too difficult. For example, the Big Bang, they believe what was it called? A singularity is responsible. It supposedly got really hot and then it expanded over this long period of time and whatnot, right? So that singularity was there for like forever. You know what I mean? So
G-Man, if you want an astrophysicist on here, we can get an astrophysicist. But let's talk about evolution, since that's what our expert is. Our guest is an expert in.
He's like, get him! Like we just have him standing by. Yes.
All right, come on in, Lawrence Krauss. Get in here.
Yeah. He's
have a beginning or end. That's using logic.
Okay.
Right? So my next.
But let's stick to evolution. Let's stick to evolution questions.
Okay. So how do we get from one single cell organism to cats, dogs, birds, coyotes, eagles, and all these other things?
That question's pretty much already been answered several times. I mean, you've pretty much rephrased. Well, yeah, really, it has. Okay.
I'm not finished up, but I'm not.
Okay, go ahead.
How do you go from a dog to being a non-dog?
I was waiting for that one.
Evolution.
I was waiting.
Okay, so you're talking about the process that we call speciation.
Yes, he's talking about speciation, and also, could you? He always says macro and micro evolution. Can you explain to him? I mean, is that even a scientific term?
Well, yeah, let's start with speciation, and then we can get into his thinking about other things. So speciation, you're asking how it happens. We know how it happens. It starts with a common ancestor that's similar. That's the exact same organism. This common ancestor has multiple offspring, and these offspring, they are put in different environments. Now, different environments, sometimes it can be that they are separated by a mountain, they can be separated by climatic events, or they can even be separated, which we call sexual isolation. They can be separated simply because they do not reproduce together. Once they are separated, either physically or sexually, there's different pressures that apply to the two groups. So from a common ancestor, you can build up these pressures over millions of years, and you'll have as much differentiation as you see between a tiger and a lion, or an ape and a tree. It's all about how much time you leave evolution make its action on a using differential pressures. Some pressures make a group of the organism want to capture light or grow branches like the trees. Some other evolutionary pressure advantage the groups that are like apes, that can climb trees and that can hunt and eat apples, for example.
But that's not evolution. That's adaptations, though.
I mean, part of the theory of evolution relies on the concept of adaptation and of differential adaptation. So adaptations that are different based on groups that have lived in different environments.
But with the adaptations or macro and microevolution, whatever you want to call it, all that means is that a wolf is going to have a bigger ear and one's going to have a longer ear. Or you might have a wolf with bigger teeth and one might have smaller teeth, or an eye that's bigger than the other one, or whatever, over a long period of time or whatever. But you don't get something other than a dog or something other than a wolf. We don't have any examples at all that has been proven 100% fact that a dog can become a non-dog, or a cat can become a non-cat, or a bird can become a non-bird. And if you cannot get a bird that can become a non-bird, how did we get to the point where we got a single-cell organism that went from being like all these different, I'm talking about grass and all these other things and whatnot. How did they evolve into like things that can move around and whatnot? That's my reason to doubt evolution.
Yes. Well,
and you have to be able to observe it. Okay, you have to be able to demonstrate this, and you have to be able to observe this in order for it to be science. I believe that evolution is more religious than anything. I don't think it's scientific.
Science is not just based on the direct observation of phenomena.
Microevolution is science. Microevolution is science. Macroevolution is the figment of your imagination, because we don't have any proof of that.
No, I think that you're wrong in stating that science is only about what we can observe directly. For example, physics have given us theories that allow us to predict what happens in black holes, but we've never been in a black hole. But these theories, they have given predictions that we can look at from the outside of the black hole, and that everything seems to fit the theory. So sometimes you do not have a direct observation, but what you have is a theory that's the smallest possible explanation that can be provided for what you can observe. What is it that we can observe right now? We can observe the modern forms of life. We cannot go back 1 billion years ago and see what happened. But from these observations, we can select theories based on what's best explaining the evolution of life on Earth.
Okay, so with that being said, how much faith do you think it takes to believe the theory of evolution versus how much actual factual science a person can believe?
This is an important question. It may sound ridiculous, but I think it's not that ridiculous. So what is it that a scientist commits to when he starts doing science? We do commit to things. We commit to the belief, for example, that our instruments are providing us some useful information. We commit to the principles of parsimony, which is that for a very simple phenomenon that can be explained by a simple theory, I don't need to make up a giant explanation of things that I've never observed, like a magical power making everything happen. So yeah, we do commit to a set of beliefs. But
no, you're so right. It takes a lot more faith to believe that everything.
I didn't say it took more.
From this imaginary common ancestor, and I totally agree with you. It takes a lot more faith to believe in this imaginary common ancestor that supposedly did all this stuff and we never actually seen it.
I didn't say it took more. I said it took a certain amount of axioms.
And fake science to come to the conclusion that a bird can become a non-bird. I would rather believe that an intelligence created everything after their own kind. Since I can observe that on a regular basis, there's more proof for that, more evidence for that than it is that that one single cell, because the weather was perfect during this particular age, became multiple cells, and over a long period of time, boom, here's people.
Even within your internal logic, which I found totally flawed, let's go within that internal logic. You say you observe intelligence creating species. When's the last time you've seen an intelligent being create a species?
I believe that by faith, and I believe the testimony of the scripture.
Okay.
But it makes more sense than your outrageous claim, where you're saying that a little cell did all this stuff. You never actually saw it. And here's a more outrageous claim. I actually get a little offended when people tell me these are my relatives. Corn, apples, rats, raccoons.
But I believe you are wrong to be offended.
You know what I mean? Roaches.
If you've ever looked at a plant, I think that if you're offended, it's that you do not appreciate the complexity of living forms, of forms of life on Earth, including corn.
You don't really believe you're related to a roach?
I feel honored to be within the family of corn and to be a cousin of your apple. These are very complex organisms. They are sweet. They grow from trees that are very complex. If you ever slice through a tree, you will be impressed by what you found on there.
Your family? Do you eat this?
Do I eat corn? Yes.
Yeah. Are you gonna eat your family tonight? Like on Thanksgiving, you're gonna have like your cousins from.
You cannibal!
How dare you?
Careful eating your distant cousins. It's a lot better to believe that God created everything. You're not related to corn and apples and roaches and cotton and all these other disgusting things and whatnot. You believe that
we are related within your theory. We are still related, but we are related through creation instead of evolution. But in your theory, we are still the same offspring of some god, right?
I think that you scientists that believe that we are related to corn need to go see a doctor. That's what I think. Okay. We are not related to corn.
I'm a doctor, so I'm going to go see myself.
Or a peach or a banana or an apple or anything like that. That is ridiculous. Even the kids going to school today are laughing at that theory.
TJ's related to bananas.
Oh yeah, he's definitely related because he likes to, get intimate with those things too.
He serenades them, takes them on dates.
TJ, what do you think about being the cousin of corn?
Oh yeah, I like to hear this.
I don't mind it. I don't see it as particularly demeaning. So
yeah, neither do I. That sounds fine to me. I'll still
I kind of it kind of makes me feel I don't know. I almost get sort of a pleasant feeling knowing that I'm connected with all other life on this planet. But I guess that G-Man kind of just views life as like this, all of life as like this garbage form, and that he's going to shed once he dies.
I didn't say that. I was not connected to the other life on the planet. You're playing word games there, okay? You're saying
I'm playing word games. That's an interesting accusation.
Semantics, TJ.
Your distant cousin is corn. Your distant cousin is an apple, a peach, a pear.
So what?
So what?
You're not related to those things.
I am so.
Those things.
They have DNA. They're built of the same materials that you are.
Yes. Okay. And check this out. According to the scripture, the Bible says that we're made out of the dust of the earth. And if they're made out of, and they're coming from the same place, that's the dust of the earth. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you guys are like not gonna have a family reunion.
It sounds to me like look. It sounds to me like you believe you're just as intimately related to those things as any evolutionist would.
Right.
No. I am intimately related into eating this. This is not family. I introduce to my family.
Okay.
This is food necessary to live.
G-Man is the first prop creationist. Like, he uses props in his routine.
In my routine.
Yeah. Yeah, your routine. This is a routine. You come up with what you're gonna say word for word, and then if someone strays, some ballpark franks.
Shouldn't those be in the fridge?
Yeah.
Put those in the fridge, G-Man. Oh, I didn't know your fridge was so close to you.
Yeah.
It's convenient.
Yes, very convenient.
Either that or you live in a broom closet. I don't know.
So JF, if you don't mind, could you admit that many scientists have a certain degree of faith in the things that they're talking about regarding, and when I say faith, I'm talking about the fact, I'm using the definition when you guys just say things and then other people just believe it. I mean, don't get me wrong, you got little evidence, but you have faith on this stuff.
No, I think that the word faith is not the right word here. We have axioms. We start with a given. And the given, for example, is that what I observe from the world is somewhat, not necessarily entirely true, but somewhat telling me something about my environment. I would say that's an axiom more than a faithful statement.
I would say that's a statement of faith. Just like when I say that God exists.
I would say it's a statement of method. The difference with faith,
how he does it.
The difference with faith is that there's a claim that something out there exists that you've never seen.
So if I never seen it, then that means it's not real. You never seen this common ancestor. Ditto.
No. When I say that I don't have faith in the axioms that says that I can observe the world. I'm just saying I'm using this axiom to build my scientific method over it. I'm not stating anything based on that.
Something that's testable, repeatable, something that you can, that's something that appeals to your five senses, right? So when did you test? When did you personally test the fact that bacteria is responsible over this long period of time of creating a tree? When did you actually test that over and over and over and over and over again?
I told you earlier, this is getting circular because I told you earlier we cannot test this.
No way. G-Man's not circular. He's not. Oh, G-Man won. Another win for the G-Man.
No. Check this out. We have access to bacteria. How many trees have you produced with the bacteria that we have? With plain bacteria.
The answer is very simple. Give me 2 billion years and I'll show you, but I don't have 2 billion years because I'm just one of the products of these things which die after a certain time. In my case, maybe at 60 or 70 years.
But you believe evolution by faith, not by science.
No, evolution is...
That's the argument you're using against God. I'm using that against your evolution argument. If you have to be able to see it to believe it then, and you haven't seen this actually done, you have a faith-based position. It's not
that's totally
science.
wrong.
You haven't observed it. You haven't played with it. You haven't tested it over and over and over and over again to come to an intelligent decision. You haven't done that.
I mean, if I can speak here, there's a major difference between faith and the conclusion that scientists have come to by expressing the evolutionary theory and the theory that all life on Earth comes from events of replication from a common ancestor. The difference is that we have not started with this as a given. When you do a statement of faith, you start with the conclusion as a given. You say, I start with the opinion that God exists. It's fine, you can do that,
right.
but it's not comparable to science where we say, I don't start with any conclusion in advance, I start with a method. The method shows me a couple of things about my environment.
No. I don't agree with that. All scientists have their own presuppositions when they come into a conversation like this. I have my presupposition. You're right that God exists, and I'm going to build my argument based on that.
You're pointing to individual scientists.
You're going to start your argument with, well, I believe in evolution and Big Bang, so that's what I'm going to start at. Don't give me that mess. Everyone has presuppositions.
Yeah, scientists have presuppositions and they even have false belief. But that's the point of science. It's that no one cares about what scientists think. They care about what scientists can prove using their method. That's the essential difference between a statement of faith by an individual and a conclusion of a group of scientists, which has nothing to do, by the way, with their presuppositions or their beliefs about the world. The individual can be wrong about everything, but following the method of science correctly can lead you to some truth about the world.
Okay, Amazing Atheist, can I just say something here real quick to you personally?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Matt Slick wants to debate you on the Bible Thumping Wingnet show.
Who is that?
Yeah, I kind of figured you was gonna say that. He just got finished debating Matt Dillahunty and who's that guy with the mustache like this and with the long? Oh, Aaron Raw. That's right. Yeah. So they wanted me to ask you, would you be interested in going on the Bible Thumping Wingnet show? And
I'll have to look into that. So.
All right, cool. Ben can do that. I'm sure he knows everybody here on YouTube. The second thing I want to say, because I know the Drunken Peasants ain't gonna do this for me. Check out G-Man on YouTube by going to XXOO54 or look for G-Man on YouTube. # awesome. Beat the Amazing Atheist butt in that rap battle. But back to what you're saying, sir. That is a faith-based assertion you just made. Thank you. There's no science there. None. You got to be able to observe it. You got to be able to play with it. You're telling me you don't believe in God because of what? You can't see him.
G-Man.
He does show up. You wouldn't believe it because he has to do it over and over and over again. It has to be testable and repeatable over and over and over if you're going to go by the scientific method.
Well, the first thing is I didn't say I did not believe in God, but in fact you guessed right. I do not believe in God.
Okay. Cool.
And to answer your question, the reason I don't believe in God is that there's no reason to believe in God. There's no good evidence that would even point to the point of an iceberg of a start of evidence that there is someone who created the universe. As soon as I'm presented with some evidence, I'm happy to change my belief.
Okay. We both speak English, right? We both know the definition of words, right? Yep. There's a difference between evidence and convincing you, okay? Yes, how do you know that there's no evidence if I have been convinced by evidence that God exists?
Oh, well, just present it, and I'm open to listening.
But if you don't believe it, whoa. Here's the tricky thing now. If you don't believe it, that doesn't mean it's not evidence for me. My burden of proof isn't the same burden of proof that you have.
Oh, certainly. It can be evidence for you, but you may be wrong about the whole thing. The The difference is just that if you pass me evidence, I will ask, where did you get this? Who told you that? How did you test this? What are the alternative theories?
I have no problem with that. I can handle those easy questions. But before I do that, are you aware of the arguments for God? The presuppositional argument, my answered prayer argument, the ontological argument, the cosmological argument. There's a ton of arguments out there. Then there's two empiricisms, and I wish he was here. Is complexity of a cell argument of intelligent design, which is highly competitive with evolution right now. Don't even try to sit here and act like it's not.
I think we've pretty much deflated your answered prayer argument.
No, you haven't. No one's deflated nothing.
Oh yeah, we've totally demolished that on several occasions. We really have.
I'm gonna give you the short, condensed, nutshell version. God has answered my prayers, and you can't.
Nut is right.
And I can actually demonstrate it scientifically on how he did. I can do it.
Have you mentioned previously that you believe in some sort of microevolution?
I believe in microevolution. Yeah.
Do you think that populations change over time? Local populations.
What's that got to do with the argument for God?
Well, let me get there. Did you say that you agreed with microevolution?
Yeah. That basically, if somebody has a kid and the kid takes on some of their traits. Yeah.
Okay. So the reason I don't buy your argument of prayer answered or you've talked to God, if I understood correctly, is that it's very well explained why you have an internal dialogue in your head by evolution through simple changes coming from the common ancestors that we had with apes. We can see how evolution could explain the appearance of a mind, of a capacity for language, and a capacity to have internal language. And so I don't see the need here to create a whole creator because you experience those subjective feelings inside your mind. There is no evidence that there's something. There's no evidence.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
Oh, no.
That's what you're talking about right now, but you're using a bunch of scientific mumbo jumbo.
What? He's not talking about reincarnation.
I don't think it's that.
I don't think.
You're giving me a form of it. You're giving me a form of reincarnation right now.
I'm saying that you're talking to.
That at some point I was some other person a long time ago, and then that person
what?
That's
not reincarnation. That's replication. That's offspring creation by
G-Man has lost the plot.
Right. And by the way, that doesn't disprove my argument. What that is a theory that you have that you can't prove. You can't prove that God is not talking to me, and I can get quite specific on how He's talking to me. First of all, my Bible gives me conditions on prayer, tells me what I can pray for and what not to pray for, and then when the prayers are answered, I can tell you who is answering my prayer and who is not answering my prayer.
Well, the can't prove argument is just invalid for negative proof. So I could tell you the same thing. I could tell you. I could tell you you cannot prove that the person who speaks to you when you experience God was not a pink unicorn. You cannot prove this.
Okay, so you hold the view that you can't prove a negative?
Well, I mean, under certain circumstances, in some theoretical, mathematical environments, you can prove negatives. But,
I appreciate that.
But when you start inventing negatives within a setting where we're in a universe and you're making up stuff from no observations at all, no, you cannot prove that kind of negative.
Okay, cool. So, my answer prayer argument says that God is immaterial, okay? And the way He makes Himself known to the material world is using your actual scientific method, okay? You get a prayer journal, you can write down when the prayer was made, what was prayed for, and when the prayer was answered, okay? Now, okay, I have something recorded demonstrating that when I pray, that these things are taking place. Now, mind you, if you know anything about Christianity at all, you know that Christians only pray for things that are outside of their control. They will try to go to their friends and get the thing first. They'll try to go to other people and get it first. But once they come to the conclusion that nothing is going to help them, that's when they usually get on their knees and ask God for that particular thing.
Kind of like when God gave you money, right, G-Man? Oh, like you ask God for money and He get. But there were some other things you could have done to get the money, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I needed the money right then and there, though. That's the thing.
But I mean, you could have I don't know. You could have robbed a store or something like that, you know.
I'm not gonna do that. That's a sin. I'm not gonna do that. That's a sin.
But you weren't out of options though.
I was out of options. I can't sin. I'm not going to sin.
So you don't sin. You're not a sinner.
No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to take something.
Did you just say you're not a sinner, G-Man?
when my Bible. No, you're playing word games now, Benny boy. Stop it. We've been through this before now. Stop it. Is that Ben or Scott I'm talking, by the way? That to do with the
Ben.
mask? Looks like Rey Mysterio these days or something? Or
Yeah.
who is
That's
okay,
Ben.
so I'm not going to fall for your trap this time, my friend. Ain't going to happen. But anyway, sir, the bottom line is I can give you, with that example, a prayer journal, which I will show you.
All right, G-Man. We're gonna start wrapping this up. So I want you to pick one last topic of discussion that you want to discuss with our guest here.
All right, cool, sir. Evolution is a faith-based position. It is not science, and you need to stop believing in that nonsense. Really, we did not evolve from a common ancestor that we've never seen, that we never touched, that we never smelt, or anything like that, and we can't reproduce the same thing to be able to test whether or not that theory is true. It is a faith-based assertion. It is not science. Although you're going to make it sound like it is in a minute.
No, I think that there's nothing absolutely wrong with what you say. The problem is the weight that you attribute to different categories of things. So if we were to just evaluate your claim that God exists based on your own criteria, it wouldn't even hold. And so that's the problem with coming with a faith argument or saying that you just experience God or that it has to exist. It's that every criticism that you can give to the theory of evolution will just apply 10 times more to your own beliefs.
Whatever you say, sir, it's a faith-based assertion. Evolution. I just want to let you know that. All right.
But it was a pleasure.
My relatives are not string beans. The Easter Bunny. It isn't the great turkey on Thanksgiving. It ain't the great pumpkin on Halloween. It ain't the Christmas tree. My relatives are other human beings. I'm related to TJ. TJ is like a distant cousin. You know what I mean? But a banana, grass, buckwheat. Are you serious? Come on.
Oh yeah, I'm very serious.
No, you're not. Grass. Stop telling yourself that. Build yourself up a little bit. You can do a lot better than that. Seriously. Grass, buckwheat, barley. Are you serious? Come on now.
All right.
Corn
I think we'll end on that note.
Okay.
G-Man here.
Thank you for being on the show, G-Man.
Thanks, G-Man.
Preaching to the Choir Ministries.
Check out G-Man's YouTube for more great arguments and facts.
G-Man.
And the masters of stupidity.
So what did you think of your G-Man encounter?
Knockout.
I think he's a living proof that being wrong doesn't make you not entertaining. You can
true.
be a good show while being completely beside the track.
That is true. We've seen it. Don't ever convince yourself that just because you're entertaining, you must be right.
You have to love that about G-Man. It's like, I haven't smelt it, touched, or anything. So you smelt or touched God or any of the senses? Well, no, I haven't seen him or touched him, but
I wrote some stuff down in a book, so it must be real.
And he said the date and time, too, TJ. You're forgetting that part.
Right.
It's scientific.
He's observed it.
My big problem with G-Man is that people are laughing at his stuff very quickly, which they should because it's ridiculous. But I believe in giving being intellectually honest. And
Sure.
I believe that some of the things he points out are actual. You might not express it in the most agile way, but it's true that science is based on some assumptions. And I think that we have to give him credit for making the defense he can.
I mean, like, everything is based on assumption. I mean, like, even if you just go through life, you're making assumptions constantly. You know, I mean, it's impossible to avoid assumptions because we just don't have absolute certainty about everything.
Mm-hmm.